Okay, this is how to communicate that you actually care with your students so they actually want to turn in their homework to you. Um, just a reminder, this is a springboard. We're not getting into specifics. We're just throwing out some ideas. If you want to talk more specifics, come see me. Number one thing, keep Canvas updated. If Canvas is updated, kids know where to go, what to look, they can find what they need to find. One of the really important things is if you realize it, if your Canvas page is not up to date, it's an excuse not to do work. And it's a really great one because you pull in the parents and say, well, look, you can't expect me to do my English because look, the Canvas page isn't, and the parents are like, you're right, it's not updated. So it's a great excuse for students who are struggling. So we got to make sure those Canvas pages are right and they're up to date. Right along with that, we got to make sure grades are up to date. For me personally, I have a goal of trying to go 24 hours, unless it's a big, huge assignment like essay level. I try to have a 24-hour turnaround time. That kind of allows for some consistency. But my biggest suggestion when it comes to this, and I learned that this distance learning made a huge difference. At the very top of every one of my Canvas pages, it says the last time the grades for this assignment or for this class were updated on, and the specific date and time. The reason you want that is two things. One, if there's some kind of technology issue, the kid thinks that you just haven't graded and they're waiting and they're waiting, and they don't realize you actually have graded everything and it just didn't get submitted because there was some kind of technology problem. Two, the kids are often really good at distance learning going, oh, well, the reason why I have this lousy grade is because my teacher hasn't graded anything yet. And that's not the case, because as soon as you do that, mom and dad pull up the Canvas page. They're like, no, everything's been updated. That has solved a lot of problems. So highly recommend that at the top of your Canvas page. I put it in huge font. I highlight it yellow so it cannot be missed. Fast email responses. Nothing's more frustrated when you have an important question and you can't get the work done because no one's responding and you don't know what the next step is. Quick responses help to alleviate that frustration, which means they're more likely to turn in their homework to you. Let your students actually know you support them. They need to hear it. They aren't seeing it. They're not around you every day. Make sure you tell them. Put it in your weekly email, tell them on a phone calls, whatever it is you need to do. Make sure you include it when you have your group meeting, whether it's on Team or on Zoom, whatever it is. Make sure you tell them that you are supporting them and that you want them to be successful. I recommend a weekly email. If you're sending more than weekly, sometimes it's overwhelming, but a weekly email, you can include a lot of information. My one suggestion is, and I kind of have this in the back of my mind, kind of working it out, when would I want to send a weekly email? Monday. Probably 7 other teachers will do that too. That could be overwhelming. Not really sure how to do that, but I'm trying to think of a way to kind of space that out. Maybe it will be less overwhelming to students. For students who have a D or an F in my class, you're going to get my full attention. If you have a D or an F, I personally create an email to you specifically. I copy paste out of Gradebook what you're missing. I highlight it. I get a good response out of that. If you have an F, in addition to that, I'm going to make a phone call. And I start that maybe not week 1 because there's just not enough there, but by week 2, I am on it. And if you stay on it the whole time, you can track the student's progress, but also it's easier for them to catch up. If you wait till the last week to tell them, hey, guess how far behind you are, that's overwhelming and really hard. So really staying on top of it from the very beginning really helps. I personally did not do any home visits, but I talked to teachers who did. They had great responses. That's something to consider and something that I'm having in the back of my mind. If we go into this again, maybe I will do some home visits. Kids still need praise. They still need to know what's right and they need to hear it from you. I use the RISE tickets, the electronic RISE tickets. Students don't know if you turned in the name unless you sent them the email. And what was really funny is I just was like, hey, just so you know, parents responded, students responded. It was a much bigger deal to these students than what would normally happen. Normally you would hand them and they're like, hey, thanks. But this time there was some emotion attached to it. Students need help staying motivated. If you're sending out a weekly email, this is a great thing to kind of sneak into that email, in addition to what's coming up, like ideas on how to stay motivated. For my student, my personal daughter, I literally had to set out the candy bars. If you get this far, you get this Twix. You get this far, you get this Hershey's, whatever. Helping kids figure out how to stay motivated help. I send out TED Talk, and I'm like, yeah, no, it's not a requirement, but it does help the students when they don't really have those kind of resources on their own. Distractions are a huge issue. Cell phones are just a problem in our class. Why would they be less of a problem without somebody monitoring the situation? Well, they're not. They're a big problem. I told my students about an app called Forest. If they put it on their phone, it starts off as a seed, and the less you use your phone, the more the tree can grow until it turns into a forest. And students were like, and they would pick up and they would see it was a seed, and they're like, oh, that's not good, and would set it down and would let it go a little longer. And they said it really did quite help them out. Using YouTube links, I found some great students talking about issues with distraction, and I sent those to my students. Might help. Those weekly emails, this is a great time to kind of put in those reminders for our students. If you'd like to talk more about ideas, brainstorm some ideas, have a soundboard, let me know. Let's make it happen.